What's a truth you wish you never learned? The days are long, but the years fly by. True that. Getting close to 40 here and wondering where all the time went. Same for me. 40 on the 31st. Just starting life over again Oswell. Yeah, I'm about to go back to college and get my teacher's license. Right now I'm operating on a sub-license and sort of stuck at the same school with the same salary. Never too late to hit a reset or try something new. I'm trying to get back into education. I'm recently disabled, so I got to do this. Shh. Asterisk T, one-handed. What are you thinking of doing at college? Smashmouth really knew what was up when they said the years start comin' and they don't stop comin'. Wild. Change things up. I made massive changes, romantic. Career, time zone, and time passes like it did 15 years ago for me. But even small stuff can make a difference. Go a different route home, or try a new food. Or check out something neat in your community you've been meaning to look into and never did. Or pick up a little craft kit at Michael's of something you've never tried before and spend an afternoon on it. Novelty does so much to slow the perceived passage of time, that sometimes the people you'd do anything for wouldn't even do the bare minimum for you. I have been shocked by this in the past. The best thing to do has been to define friendship and family carefully. Give what you can when you want to, lower expectations, and be delightfully surprised when someone does return the favor. Pay attention to the ones that surprise you. They're the keepers. It's really hard and not always possible, especially in situations of gross betrayal, but it helps. I'm in my 40s and fairly outgoing. My social/friendship circle is a triangle. Me and 2 friends, and they don't know each other. But those 2 friends are the best people I know. Sometimes, the bad guy wins. Sometimes, you can be 100% in the right and it doesn't matter a bit. And sometimes, the bad guy becomes a hero after he wins. And it's almost impossible to tell who those were after enough time passes. History is written by the victor. It's more nuanced than good v evil as well. Civilization has generally been the greatest life and quality of life augmentation our species has invented, but I struggle to think of a single society manifested without large-scale murder, theft, genocide, rape, and enslavement of a smaller or less militant group. So, what I'm trying to say is that I'd argue the bad guy who wins almost always becomes the good guy to a large number of people, if not generally speaking. Yeah. And it hurts to know the truth. How evil some people can be. More surprising is how evil lots of people can be. How common and boring it can appear from the outside. You learn early it's something bad, but grow up expecting it to be big and bad and loud and rare, obvious. It ain't. It's easier to destroy than to build. And how many people will be on the side of evil people if they benefit from it somehow? The everyday evil people. Sometimes just manifests as a product of their messed up worldview that's always kept private to themselves or family until a small nudge from just about anything or almost nothing, aging mental faculties/midlife crisis, for example. Then those messed up and hateful notions become actions and the misguided everyday person becomes someone else's monster. And how indifferent most people are to it. The corollary is how stupid some people can be. I graduated exactly in the middle of my high school class, so I thought I was average in terms of intellect. Then I started working retail and realized how completely stupid people are. Seriously, there are people who I wonder how they manage to put their pants on and enter the store without assistance. Wizard's first rule. People are stupid. As a group, and inducing fear on them can allow you to more easily manipulate them than any real magic. That growing up means finding out not everyone has the same heart as you. For me, it was realizing that not everyone who I know is a friend, and not everyone will like me. They're just an acquaintance. Nothing more. I learned that the hard way. Yeah. There are people I think are friends, but they are really just activity buddies. We do board games together, or whatever. We should cry in each other's arms more. Understanding the way world actually is hits hard. I came here to say more or less the same thing. I know the best in humanity is possible, because it is in my heart. But I have never been so disappointed than to learn how humans really are. I don't really have a place among them. That feelings and priorities change very quickly. One day you are someone's whole world and another, you don't fit in their life. People change all the times. True. It's weird to me, but I accept it. I just don't get why they usually never communicate the change. And you're kinda left there trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Love that. Purchasing power of my money keeps going down. Always will. After all these time? Always. But at least you have less of it every year. Most people want you to do well, but not better than them. I was looking for this response. I was a sunny, outgoing individual, until something really shitty happened to my family. Suddenly I didn't make eye contact with people and I was curt and barely civil. It dawned on me that all those people that I had judged back when I was Polly fucking Sunshine for being bitter and grouchy made sense to me. Everyone is carrying something around that you can't see and can't know. This world scars everyone. I love this. Polly fucking Sunshine. We'll have to remember this. You just made my day. This hit hard for me. I was an extremely bubbly person most of my life. I've even been described as a Disney princess. Then my grandpa hit bad health, ended up with pancreatic cancer after surviving WW2. He went crazy and tried to kill himself with his cancer pills. Ended up in a fucking insane asylum for the end of his days. My poor mom spent every last second with him. Then my grandma went through dementia and kept asking where grandpa was. Well, he died. But this upset her every time we told her every 5 minutes. So my mom and her brothers decided the line would be, he's just around the corner in his car. Because she was also asking when she'd be going home. She never would go home again. She lived in a nursing home. The last time I saw her, 2 days before Christmas and 1 week before she would pass away. She thought I was a taxi driver and had no recollection of who I was. Then my dad got a stomach ache one weekend, didn't go to the hospital or DR or anything. It was COVID and we were all scared of going to the hospital. Well, he passed away from an undiagnosed stomach ulcer 3 weeks later. So my mom lost her parents and her husband in 7 years. Can you fucking imagine? My mom is a saint, and for all this to have happened to her and me, completely drained me of my spark. Now I just go through most days on autopilot. Finding out your best friend like a sister and your husband, who was like a brother to her husband, screwed around. Losing 2 people in the same day while they're still up and around. Talking and breathing is not something I'd wish on anybody. Decades of memories forever trashed. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Losing someone who is still around is so hard because you don't really get closure on the relationship. I hope you and your friend's husband can both find peace and heal from this horrible thing. It's been enough years, I'm mostly over it. Living well truly is the best revenge. Even your bestest friend can betray you. Happened to me when he stole $50 from me one time. He told me that the $50 he gave me in my birthday card this year was the money he took from me last year back in the summer. The guy lied to me saying he never saw the cash in his room. I believed him. Then he tells me the truth a year later about what he did. I got mad at him. Similarly, only your friends can betray you. Intentions don't matter. You're judged on your actions regardless of intentions. You're also judged on what other people gossip/lie about your actions. Also judged on the stories they make up in order to justify how they treated you. A surprising number of people do this. A hell of a lot of people just suck. Real monsters don't live under the bed or in the closet. They walk amongst us. The worst people in existence are always in charge of everyone else. Most murderers are never caught. In the same vein, you are more likely to be murdered by someone you know than a stranger. The day you adopt a pet, you sign for one of the most wonderful loves of your life and one of the worst heartbreaking losses. I'll sign again. There is a writing on a Roman grave for a dog that said something like, I wept as hard carrying you here as the day I carried you home. I recall it as tears fell as I carried you to your final resting place. As much as I rejoiced when 14 years ago I carried you home with my own hands. A man visits a psychic to read his fortune. She tells him, 15 years from now, you will suffer a terrible heartbreak beyond what you can imagine. Feeling a little down, he walked home past an animal shelter. I know what will make me feel better, he said, as he walked in and adopted a kitten. One may smile and still be a villain. So many dishonest people will stab you in the back. The prerequisite of betrayal is trust. That Pawn Stars is a fake show. A friend of mine went to check out the store and was standing in line to get in. The show's producers were going down the line asking people to bring things into the store for the show. All those surprise finds and negotiations are faked. It's the same with storage wars. In retrospect, this makes sense. Can't find amazing things every day exactly when the camera crews happen to be there. But it was disappointing. I used to like that show. That most of the people in power are psychopaths or sociopaths because corporate greed rewards that behavior. That you never really leave high school and are reminded of that constantly. You think adults are mature and know what they're doing, they don't. Same can be said about parents. They don't usually know what they're doing on how to raise their kid. So they just try their best willy-nilly to figure it out along the way. Even senior citizens act this way. Some mean girls are mean until they die. Adults are just as clueless as children are, they just make up things along the way, which children need to learn how to do ASAP to get ahead. When I was younger, my mother told me that my 15-year-old dog was going to a dog retirement home and wouldn't be coming back. The other day my sister told me that there was no such thing and that he had to get put down. So now I'm sad that my dog was really put down and annoyed AF at myself that I believed there were such things as dog retirement homes until 27 years old. If it makes you feel better, there are 2 retirement dog homes in our area. They take old dogs who need to be given up, but mostly old dogs from the pound who would otherwise be put down. They have selective criteria for the dogs, but it is a neat concept. That actually really does make me feel better. Thank you. A friend in HS told me his parents took their dog to a ranch to live. We were all like, sorry to tell you, man. But sure enough, he showed us pics of the dog happily living on a ranch a few months later. Oh, that didn't take the dark twist I was expecting. That's awesome. Our neighbors down the street used to have a horse who would come to the fence to greet people, and my toddler daughter loved to feed him carrots. The neighbors ultimately sent him to a friend's farm with other horses where he could have more space and not be lonely, and they made extra sure to show us a bunch of pictures and prove that there was absolutely for real an actual farm and not a euphemism. Everyone may be created equal, but not everyone is born equal. That the life is unfair. People do get unfair advantages. Bad people do well in life. Being a good person attracts the worst people. If you are selfless, giving, patient, generous, etc., people will take advantage and abuse your kindness. Yeah. And they'll drive you to a point where one impulsive reaction from you can destroy the definition of who you are, and now you live with the guilt, and now they think this is what you were from the beginning and everything else was just a facade. Years ago, a guy put up a YouTube video to fight against human trafficking. He included stories, warning signs to look for, and how to alert authorities when you spot human trafficking. He also put up paintings of a victim to show just how terrible human trafficking really is. The victim painted stick figures of what happened to her. Very simple, but very, very horrifying. That growing up means watching your parents grow old. How some people can defend voting against their best interests. Sometimes there are no good choices. Maybe that's down to a previous decision you made and you're facing the consequences. Maybe it's your body, your brain, nothing you can reach inside and pull out of you. You may not have put yourself in the position where those good choices are gone. That can be down to decisions someone made decades ago. But you'll find yourself there, looking at the many evils, big or small, and trying to figure out which ones you'll be able to stomach. Stories we tell are so often about the choice between good and evil. And you think growing up that's what the choice might be, but it rarely is. It's not fair, but there's no way to make it fair. You just have to live with it. That anyone with too much charm or charisma are the ones you should be wary of. Not all of them. I do know a couple few that just love everyone like a golden retriever. But some people have a smooth, charming, nice face they put on for personal gain. Just because they smile and treat you like you are special, doesn't mean you are actually sincere. There are lots of truths I wish weren't true, but none I wish I didn't know. People will give you exactly as much shit as you're willing to take. This can include people who love you. That very large groups of people can be brainwashed so easily. People are dumb AF. The overwhelming amount of relationships you will have in your life are based around the other person believing you can provide them with something they want. And when you can't provide that to them anymore, they will have no claims about abandoning or moving on from you. Very few people in this world will actually genuinely like you for you. People believe whatever they want to believe, regardless of the facts. And what they want to believe is often a matter of whatever happens to be socially convenient for them. I'm at a place in life where I need everything to be honest. There is no truth I wish I never learned. There are people and deeds that I wish never existed though. 20 years after the fact. My niece told me this, that my teenage sons found my dildo and were chasing each other, and her, around the house with it. When most of us die, we will only be memories for a handful of people until we are eventually forgotten forever. Perhaps we'll be an entry on someone's family tree in the future, but otherwise unknown. When my dad told me that when I grew up, I wouldn't have so many friends. I didn't think being an adult could be so lonely. The farm your parents took your dog to doesn't really exist. Chronic illness brings everything in your life to a screeching halt. How totally racist and hate-filled a large portion of our country is. I mean, I always knew there were a ton of not very bright people, but not that there were so many that would just as soon kick a person in the head than help them off the ground for whatever reason, be it their race, nationality, religion, or just their beliefs. It's not just where we are, it's everywhere. One truth I wish I never learned is that life doesn't always reward kindness. You can treat people with respect, care, and honesty, but often they won't give the same in return. Meanwhile, selfish people sometimes seem to live better and get ahead. It's a hard reality, but it teaches you to do good for your own peace of mind, not because you expect it back. There are bad people in this world that just like to cause suffering for others. We humans are a bad species. How many things can kill you? Fuck my life. I lost a friend at 11 to a heart attack and another who broke his neck aged 14 using a pull-up bar. They were good kids, too. Also just how different some people can be in public and in private. Finding out that the coolest guy in the office, who solved everyone's problems, couldn't solve the one in his own mind and subsequently took his own life, man, it hit different. You can do everything correctly and fail. How selfish and self-centered almost everyone is. How law and justice don't work at all like you think they should. Don't trust anyone. If you tell them private things about you, they will use it against you at some point in time. Personality disorders are real, and, if untreated, should be avoided at all costs. They're also way worse than you can ever imagine. There's wolves among the flocks. Please, never ignore the red flags. Not a single one. Your boundaries are very important. If they must be crossed, they must be addressed when doing so. Every single time. That alone is all you need to do to protect yourself. That I will never learn any truth. I can only approximate it. That's thoughtful. That a third of the people I see daily would cheer on people like me being sent to camps and another third would just watch. The amount of people who will be on the side of evil if they benefit from it somehow is staggering. Leaving my abusive ex was quite eye-opening. So many were on his side and blamed me for everything. No truths I regret. Even the harsh and disappointing ones help you understand the world we live in. I learned so many truths during my divorce, but I know I made the right choice by leaving her now. That life is short, and almost always ends messily, that if you live in the actual world you can't have your own way, that if you do get what you want, it turns out not to be the thing you wanted, that no one thinks as well of you as you do yourself, and that 1 or 2 generations from now you will be forgotten entirely and the world will go on as if you never existed. The late, great Paul Fussell from A Power of Facing Unpleasant Facts and Thank God for the Atom Bomb and Other Essays, 1988, recommended. Sometimes you've given everything, but it's still not enough. Sometimes, you can try your best but the game was rigged from the start. I think I'm pretty easygoing, friendly, and generous. Almost always I assume people will either like me or be neutral. It's always a shock to me when I learn that certain people in my life hate my guts. I've never wronged them in any way. Some people just hate you for existing and you can't do anything to change their mind. How painful bereavement is. That no one has your back. Yup. It's usually only up to you to fix what you're going through. If you want help, then work on doing it yourself instead of just rotting in your room and doing nothing about it. You need to find the strength in yourself to do it. You may be surprised. We are the captain of our ship, certainly, but no one makes it through solely on their own. I'm convinced of that. You are always on your own. We are destroying the planet. How even people you love dearly will sell you out in a heartbeat if they think their lives will be better. The president rapes kids. Satan is not real. Wait, I meant Santa. What Bill Cosby was really about. Some people just get away with terrible things, and they're usually the ones who live a full life. Used to work in a think tank here in Washington, D.C. One of our scholars wrote a book about child soldiers, I think in the Liberian Civil War and other African conflicts. Drugged up on cat, and killing and raping adults and other kids. Wish I never read that. Also sadly learning there are so many places on earth you can trade a pair of new sneakers for an AK-47 and a full banana clip of ammo. With new sneakers, you can get a free gun. With a gun, you can get free everything. That every memory we have gets re-recorded when we think about it. That thing that happened when you were a kid that you like to think about a lot, gets re-recorded every time you pull up the memory. The more you think about it, the less true the memory becomes. There's a limit, how much knowledge we can gather in our beautiful mind. Good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. The future ain't what it used to be. I'm listening to The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein on Audible. Now I kinda wish I didn't start the book. Ignorance is bliss. Nauseated face with symbols on mouth. Yikes. Me too. Can't put it down but kinda wish I never woulda picked it up. Same for the book and No More Tears about the FDA and J&J company corruption. I learned through Ancestry, the family tree company, that my late dad might not have been. Someone contacted me with this a snippet, without thinking first that it might be a shocking piece of info. Not told anyone in the family. Doubt I ever will. I still think of my dad as my dad and have no intention of researching the man who was present at my conception. This is a learning lesson for anyone looking for their ancestors. Be very careful when contacting strangers with the good news that they might be related. Face with symbols on mouth. Oh, we're here by accident. There's no meaning or reason. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness. It's life. Jean-Luc Picard. I was just a little kid seeing The Next Generation on its original playthrough, but that hit me hard. Not every fart is just a fart. Sometimes you will get an unwelcome surprise and be far from home without a spare underwear to change into. Nothing beats the feeling of defeat from a suspicious fart. First time I had COVID, I quit smoking cold turkey and locked myself in a house my mother had just moved out of. She told me I had to get tested on the way home from work. Couldn't bring the plague back to my roommate, so I went with the one emergency pair of boxers in my car. Anyways, the spare undies were in the wash and I was taking my morning walk. Decided to fart and just straight up shit myself. Possibly the most defeated I had ever felt in my entire life.
Oh no.
Oh.
No.
The contents of Epstein list. Oh really? Please share. Get the feeling he will disappear from all records very soon. Like he never existed. The path to success through hard work, dedication, and loyalty isn't guaranteed. Nepotism and cronyism can keep qualified, well-liked, and deserving individuals from opportunities. And sometimes it's quite pervasive to the point that you either put up with it because you're depending on your job for health insurance coverage or risk more in leaving for a fairer employer. Reading Capital in the 21st Century and realizing there is no American dream, that there really are no checks and balances in the government, that one day you will lose all your loved ones, sooner or later. I couldn't wait to grow up so I could live in a world where people knew the difference between wrong and right, and they'd stop doing wrong, that everyone has a price. Too many people are simply bad, some are just evil, some things never heal. That lobsters scream when boiled, but it's just air escaping. That my now ex-husband went on a date with his now girlfriend the day I moved out of our home and they had been talking for 3 weeks before I moved out. Allegedly all on Hinge, although she goes to the same gym he can never miss every single morning and she goes the same time, so.
Yeah.
I wish I never learned any of this at all, or that he continued to tell me everything about her even when I asked not to, because I thought we were friends. No, not friends like that. I'm your ex-wife, asshole. Classic narcissist. I came to find out that he'll cheat no matter how good I am. That growing up doesn't mean freedom, it means carrying the weight no one warned you about. You often mean little to nothing to the people you care about most. How little people actually care about you. People won't treat you nicer just because you treated them nicer. Had a guy friend drunkenly admit to getting off to my IG pics. I'm well aware there are guys that do this, but it was still such a shock to hear that directly from someone I know, considered a friend, and had nothing beyond a platonic relationship with. Never spoke to him again. That must have been really tough to process, especially coming from a trusted friend. How racist a large percentage of the American population is. I would have been perfectly happy with it being hidden below the surface and not coming out into the public sphere. The mouth to the anus is a tube of outside that travels through the inside. So technically, you are a squishy Taurus.
Wink.
Hank Green. Most likely, I will never find my soulmate. It's not that I wish I didn't learn it. I just wish everyone would admit it. There's no proof that God, as described by any major religion, is real. I grew up in a religious household, and even since I was young I have had many doubts. What made things even more confusing is that large number of my family are literally scientists. My father is a professor for microbiology. His cousin helps send stuff to the moon. My brother is currently studying and I care and am interested in science way more than religion. I always talk about how there is no proof of God and how for hundreds of years people have trusted what some guy on drugs said. I admit I don't know anything about how Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shintoism and other religions started, but I am going to talk about Christianity and Islam. With Christianity, millions of people have been killed throughout history because 12 people decided to dedicate their lives to some guy that claimed without any evidence that he was God's son because his mother was a virgin. Though I am pretty sure it is accepted among historians that she probably sold herself and was embarrassed, so she claimed to have been a virgin. And then people actually believed them and bam, a third of the world has been murdered. With Islam, some guy got high on something and thought he was special and that God sent an angel to talk to him or some shit. And fast forward and bam, fucking millions of people have been murdered because people still believe in all this fucking bullshit that these dumbass people were special. If I knew more about Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Shintoism is more I would criticize them too, but I just don't know. So if by the of chance someone reading this does know, then please expand on the subject. So,
Yeah.
growing up religious was wired. I am still trying to see how I feel about continuing to be religious, but as I am sure I made it clear, I don't really buy into that shit. Você soneo entende o conceito de Deus. Everyone has their own personal reasons if the person believes there is a God or not. I consider myself an agnostic and I still have my doubts about it. And that's why it's called faith. Not supporting anyone else's beliefs, just stating the fact that faith, in and of itself, is a belief in what can't be proven. Santa Claus is not real. That one really hurt. Municipal recycling programs are largely a sham. At most 5% gets recycled. If you're lucky. Prion diseases. Ignorance really is bliss, and I was much happier when I had no idea what prion are. First impressions are not the last impression. Because in first impressions people are always fake about themselves. As a little girl, early grade school age, some of the other little girls would beg me to accompany them into the bathroom when they went to pee. At age 6 and 7, this seemed ridiculous. But those girls would plead for me stand beside them and look in my eyes with an earnest and frightened expression. So I'd go along with the request reluctantly. They never explained why. Back then I thought this was silly and stupid. You can go to the bathroom yourself. Why wouldn't you want privacy? With an adult's perspective, it's obvious why those girls didn't want to be alone in a bathroom, and the reason is infuriating. Here's wishing I'd been kinder back then. Here's wishing I'd known what CPS was, and how to file a report. Nothing lasts forever. Deep friendships, familial relationships, that business you love, anything. Bro, why are these all so deep? I was just gonna say male giraffes drink female giraffe pee. Some people just don't care how they affect others. That some people will pretend to love you, while talking shit and sabotaging your reputation to anyone they can. So every opportunity you set up around them fails, cause they rather have that momentary fun than live a good life. We are tiny creatures on a rock flying trough space so large it's incomprehensible, and nothing we do really matters in the grand scheme of things. Your parents are going to die. That our sun is going to turn into a red giant and burn up the earth. The finality of existence on this plane. There is no karma. Friends, even the closest ones, will backstab you for the right reason. As you age you remember far more than you think. That as you get older, people stop wanting to host raging silly amazing house parties and instead want to host exhausting boring dinner parties.
Ugh.
I miss parties. Times feels quicker and quicker the older you get. Beautiful people have it easier. Ugly people have it harder. There actually ain't more than a this. This is it. Just because you can't see yourself ever doing something or treating someone a certain way, doesn't mean other people will act the same. And it's often repeated, but when someone tells/shows you who they are, believe them. Look and money means everything. Hell is empty and all the devils are here. I learned the truth at 17, that love was meant for beauty queens. That when people really want to get to know you, it's only because they want something from you, they want to expose you. They want to control you, they want to get inside of your mind and destroy you. Oh, but the worst part is when you try to get to know someone and honestly want to understand them and become friends. They assume you're just like everyone else, trying to trick them. Don't know what you went through, but I hope you are good now. None, if it is true it is a must to learn. I wish I never learned some lies instead. That the way a lot of TV portrays political agenda is not just satire. That there's no Santa Claus. You will never be famous. I am not invincible or immortal. Fairy tale endings are BS. TW, bleak. When you are young you get this picture like you find your perfect person. You get together many years of bliss growing gently old together till you one day poof out of existence at the same time. Reality is, even if you're one of the very luckiest ones, find some wonderful for you person and you both live long lives, someone's going to go first. Someone gets dementia and you watch their decline, someone gets cancer and you spend hours at the hospital. Maybe the luckiest scenario is you live a good long mostly healthy life full of adventure, then one day someone just dies in their sleep or after a short and gentle battle surrounded by loved ones of some sort or another. It's bleak, but a lot of people go through a long time alone, or watch their loved one fade from dementia. Saw my dad go through it, and maybe feel kind of alone that this happened to him, but it's more like the human condition. Life is 100% fatal. The truth about PE dose, and how active they are in the world. Leaders, teachers, people around children. They pass, manufacture and collect for absolutely disgusting reasons. I just can't even fathom how evil they are. Because I can't do anything but protect my own family from them. I wish I didn't know the details of their atrocities. The early warning signs that a relationship you have may be abusive. When I turned 18, school didn't really make me smarter and I was totally unprepared for adult life. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was this big trope in kids' media that nothing was more important than family. Your parents would always love you more than anything and would literally die to protect you. Ohana means family. All fathers care for their sons. Together, as a family, we can do anything. If anything bad ever happened to you, you could and should always tell your parents and they'd help you. You could always trust your mom or your dad. They would always be there for you. They'd always support you. They'd always want you to follow your dreams and be happy. Every movie parent who lost their wayward kid was so relieved to have that kid back and give them a big hug. Every TV show parent was always deeply concerned about their kids' problems and never, ever started them. It turns out that's not really true for a lot of people. It was not only hard growing up with a very warped sense of what love and support are, I still struggle with understanding that it's not really normal for people in loving relationships to just ignore each other all the time unless they're mad. But just that feeling of being lied to for decades by a media machine that was well-meaning, but ultimately extremely naive. I've talked about the same thing with other people who grew up in shitty homes, and it's hard when you have that realization of how fucked up it really was and that you just assumed it was typical. Truth. Not all families love each other in the way that they would go out of their way to protect one of their own. There are people in the world who will take advantage of you if you give them the opportunity. They have no empathy, no guilt, and no concern for how their actions affect others. They simply operate from a dog-eat-dog, win at all costs mentality. There are psychopaths for whom money and power is all, and will stop at nothing and destroy anything between them and their objectives. There are ideologies that exist whose adherents wouldn't hesitate to kill you and actively wish death upon you, that no amount of love or acceptance will remedy. They will accept your generosity and gut you with a smile. There is darkness that exists in the world that will come for you with no provocation or warning, and it's up to you to protect yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically. To comprehend and cope with the darkness in others, it forces you to acquaint yourself with the darkness in you. It's horrifying what some people are capable of, and how blissfully oblivious so many are to it. Being nice doesn't mean you get treated nice. That every relationship in adulthood is transactional. That our Constitution and Bill of Rights are basically worthless. The comment section makes me feel seen. That some people only love you when it's convenient for them. That my mental health can break. Not a single news channel could be trusted. Humanity will choose comfort over the continuation of humankind. Adults are not more mature than kids. That most people don't actually grow out of being mean, they just learn to hide it better. That hard work and being a good person don't guarantee a good life. Sometimes, the bad guys win. In a just world, being a good person would surely guarantee a good life. But the best among us don't do good because they want a good life, they do it because they want life to be good for someone else. Sometimes that makes life better for us too, but no doubt about it. Sometimes the wicked prosper. Why I wasn't invited to the party. Most people cannot reciprocate your actions, so don't expect similar treatment. A country's direction will always be controlled by the least common denominator. That Trump likes Blue Oyster Cult. Life is unfair, no one gives a fuck, you're on your own, the world owes you nothing, rely only on yourself and no one else. I value all truth as it adds to wisdom and knowledge. Wait, I got one. Ignorance is bliss. I wish I were ignorant. The world doesn't work on good and evil. Hard work doesn't pay off. Just being good doesn't guarantee reward. Evil people win in the long run because they exploit good people and don't feel a lick of guilt about it. Death is the end. Nothing else. That my grandparents weren't perfect after they died, so I couldn't speak to them about the stories I heard. Sad face. Trusting people until they give me a reason not to is a mistake that I've never learned from. You care for people who don't care about you and vice versa. Being a good person doesn't always pay off. Just because you treat people well and give them a lot of your heart doesn't mean they will reciprocate. The sooner you accept this, the less it will hurt. That catching a virus can ruin your life forever. Long COVID, me/CFS. Have you tried? Just kidding. I can relate to medical issues. Hope that medical science will catch up and solve. Pedophiles are real.